Today I want to talk about social change strategy, how we can bring about social change effectively, especially as it relates to environmental practices. This is particularly important in relation to the environment because we are facing an existential crisis. Climate change and other ecological disruptions truly threaten the survivability of the human species. We need to change our behavior. We need to change it quickly. There are three central points that I want to make today. The first is that we are not going to make the scope of changes and the speed of change that we need simply by asking individuals to voluntarily make more ecologically sound lifestyle choices. Second, the way we are going to bring about change effectively is if we change the structure of society such that people are induced to engage in more environmentally sound practices. And the third point is that we can bring about that structural change without having to educate the entire population and turn them all into great environmental activists. We just need to focus our energies on decision makers to bring about the policy changes that will change the structure of our society, and the rest of our behavior will follow. We've all heard about how we can help save the planet or protect the environment. These typically come in the form of 10 things you can do lists. And they'll include things like recycle more, or use a reusable bag when you go to the supermarket instead of a disposable plastic bag, or drive less and use public transportation more. These are all good things. We have to do these things. We must do these things. I do these things. Everyone should. But we're not going to achieve that kind of change simply by telling people, be a good person, voluntarily change this way that you're living, and live more ecologically sustainably. We need to change the structures of our society such that individuals automatically engage in those behaviors. Let's use this simple example of recycling. A number of years ago here on the SUNY New Paltz campus, there's a group of students who are committed environmentalists and enthusiastic about promoting recycling. And they held awareness-raising events and educational events, and they tried to instill in people how important it was to recycle. Unfortunately, not that many people got on board. Some did. Some became very committed recyclers, like these activists themselves, and they would carry around their recyclable material all day until they came upon one of the recycling bins tucked away in some corner of the campus. But not that many people did that. Not that many people will ever do that. Let's think about the typical student in a classroom. They're drinking a soda or worse, a single-use plastic bottle of water. They finish it, it's the end of class. They're not just going to leave it there, they're going to throw things away. They've been taught to do that. They're getting up, they're leaving the classroom, and they see a wastebasket. They're going to throw that can or bottle in the wastebasket. That's not a recycling bin. It's not going to get recycled. It's going to go to the landfill. This is behavior that we've all been trained to do, all been taught to do. We see a wastebasket, that's where we throw things away. So rather than attempt to raise the consciousness of every single student on this campus, all 8,000 of them, instead, at that point, we tried a new strategy. We went to the director of facilities management, the people that oversee recycling and trash on campus, to try to encourage them to bring about structural change in the way we do trash and recycling. We said, how about we remove those waste baskets from every classroom and instead put a big recycling station at the end of each hallway? They were resistant. People are resistant to change. It was going to cost some money. They were going to have to buy the bins. They were going to have to redirect the custodial staff. But those students kept the pressure on, and eventually the facilities management went along with it. They removed the waste baskets. They put in a recycling station. Let's think now about what that student in the classroom is going to experience. They finish their soda. They're leaving class. They're going to throw it away. They look around for a waste basket. They don't see one. They step into the hallway. They see a trash can down at the end of the hall. They walk down there, and then they come to see that it's not simply a trash can. There's actually 3 bins there. One is for trash. It says trash and has a square hole. One's for paper, and it has a thin paper-shaped hole. And one says bottles and cans, and it has a round hole. Now, regardless of whether that individual is aware of environmental issues, regardless of whether they're a committed recycler, any human being who's sitting there with a round can in their hand and see a round hole that says bottles and cans is going to put it in there. And once they start doing that, they get used to the idea. This becomes the norm. And perhaps even when they're at home and they have bottles and cans that they would ordinarily throw in the trash, they realize, that's not what we do with bottles and cans. These should be separated. No effort to raise consciousness, no need to educate everybody. Simply change the structure of our system and human behavior will automatically follow. We can employ this strategy for almost any kind of environmentally sound behavioral change that we want to enact. What we need to do is to focus on decision makers, focus on policymakers, tell them to change policies, to change laws. We can do this for transportation by getting people out of their cars and into public transportation. We've done it here in New Paltz, eliminated plastic bags at the grocery store. We did that by banning plastic bags. People complained. People didn't want to do that. But even after just a couple of weeks, people got used to it. Going to the grocery store to buy groceries, bringing your reusable bag is like bringing money or a credit card. It's what you automatically do. Their consciousness wasn't raised, they weren't turned into raving environmentalists, but by changing the structure of the system, we can alter behavior and it will follow. Now, the great thing about this, to return to the three main points, is that we don't have to educate all 8,000 students here on campus about the importance of the environment. We should try. We should keep doing those things. We should keep handing out those top 10 things you can do to save the planet. But more importantly, the second point, we should focus on decision makers and changing policies, because that's what's going to change the structure of the system, and the rest of the human behavior will follow without ever having to convince them of the importance of doing so. They will follow and it will become the norm. The great thing about the fact that this is how social change takes place, and I would argue this is how all social change takes place, is that it doesn't require every single member of society to get on board. All it requires is a small number of very committed, focused individuals who are going to target decision makers, be they lawmakers, the head of facilities management, the president of the college, or the president of the United States. That they're going to focus their energies with determination and commitment and get those people to enact the right policies that will change the structure of our society, and human behavior will follow. It doesn't take that many people, but you can be one of them, and I hope you will be. Thank you.